stick together.
Winter, spring, summer, fall.
I sang at the wedding in front of Ben and all those plaques.
Together.
Hey, Beverly Hills 90210 fans! Are you ready to dive deep, episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code? With your hosts, Charles Rosen.
Did I say that? Yeah.
Harry
This
Mullins.
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero.
I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush-worthy.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah.
Everybody dance now.
Okay, here we are live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Back live. It is awesome to be back live with Charles and Larry. Larry, where are you in the world right now?
We are on location in La Quinta, California, which is a desert city southeast of Palm Springs. It's surrounded by the Santa Rosa Mountains, and it's lovely out here. You can see Chuck sitting by the jacuzzi over there doing his thing over there, and I'm over here, and it's pretty wild. Yeah, it's really cool. We just, we don't have enough relaxation, so we're trying to get more relaxation. And Chuck, of course, came off a big wedding weekend, and so he's unwinding. Him and his wife, Karen, who we all know as KGR, Karen Rosen, are unwinding here, which is great fun for D&I, my wife.
Amazing. Chuck, how are you doing? How's everything out there? This is a trip for you. You've had a lot going on. I want to say before you start, Rebecca Shin says, Charles, exclamation point, we missed you, exclamation points, lots of exclamation points. So you've been distracted. You've had a couple of things going on, yes?
Well, sure. We moved the daughter up to San Francisco, and the son who had proposed to his bride and mother of his child 3.5 years ago. They had a very, very, in one sense, elegant, and the other sense, intimate and large wedding party. That everybody there was safe and vaxxed, and great music, great people, and I got to say a few words, and I made them laugh, so that made me feel good. And people told me they liked it, so that was all good. And now I'm here in the desert, and I got Larry into this. Where's the horse with no name? I had heard about it. I knew there was one somewhere here. And, we'll get into it when we'll get into it. But, that's been a big part of this.
I think it's a good time just to throw the first one up because Chuck is very concerned. He remembered the America song, Horse with No Name. My brother, Fred Mullin, actually produced America, versions of that.
Before we get to that, I want to talk about this thing, and I have a friend who's going to join us real quick. This is Jessica Shaw. You guys all know Jessica Shaw, but we were talking before we came on air here about Entertainment Weekly.
Hi guys.
The end of print at Entertainment Weekly we're hearing about. So Jessica Shaw, of course, Charles, you have a relationship with them for a long time, and I thought, well, why not? This is the perfect location for Jessica to be with her 90210. Loves here and talk about what's going on with Entertainment Weekly.
I know. I'm heartbroken. I literally was just sitting at my kitchen table crying because I feel like it's such an end of an era for so many people. So Entertainment Weekly, they have decided to close the magazine. EW.com will still exist, but I haven't been there in years, but I'm heartbroken for all of the talented people who are there. Some dear friends who lost their jobs, and just the magazine was, it was really lovely reading a lot of tweets on Twitter and on Instagram, people posting on social media about how influential EW was and how they wouldn't be doing what they're doing today were it not for EW. And for me, 90210 is almost the flip of that. It's like EW maybe wouldn't have been EW without shows that we were so obsessed with and so passionate about and so just dug into and loved writing about them over and over and over. And for me, 90210 was one of those shows. We all had our like shows that we were all in on, and we were super passionate about, whether it was Buffy or Star Trek or whatever it was. And mine, and there were a bunch of other writers too, and 90210 was that for us. So I always feel like those two are linked in my mind.
There was a writer named Dan. I remember, because I can't think of his last name.
Sneerson?
Remember Dan? No, not Pearson. He was from the Hebraic tribe.
Sneerson.
Sneerson.
He's still, because he, they would call us, obviously, a lot of times at Entertainment Weekly. You would have after Chuck left, I would get calls from him. And I continue to get calls from him all the way to the last episode to comment on. So, yeah, God bless them. They're at least in digital form. Maybe that's just the way it is.
Well, we had
my heart breaks, but whatever. I'm
Yeah,
a novelist, so what do I know? It's all print.
I mean, Jessica, print or no print, and we still always have the memories of what we had together. And certainly Jessica was really one of those first fans in New York that really caught on to the show. So that later, when I remember doing a podcast here and finding out that you went to Columbia, you mean when the library was empty because people were watching our show? That was always the standard, and there you were. But the magazine itself, it was funny because, Mr. Spelling was, and Paul Wagner even, who were really much closer to the cast, so sensitive on all of the ways that our image was being portrayed. And after a while, not you, Jess, there were, some came into the show and they were looking for snark. Sometimes Us Magazine was that. Sometimes another publication was that. So I kept always wondering, why are you just doing this? Unless you some perverse reason you really like to all the adaptations. Yes, that's sort of spelling. You got to like agitation a little.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry too. And it was a very important. And I also was just thinking about really quickly the ads, the original ads. There's going to be sections on movies and this, and they ran it kind of late night. Remember, like around the Carson show and things like that. That's where they.
Yeah.
And it's so pop culture unnecessary, but it was just the start of something that boomed so big. Obviously.
Yeah,
it
and I think
in its own way.
It's just another example. If you think about what begets something else, if you look at there is not a teen show on this planet, a high school show that exists without what you guys did, and likewise, I think entertainment journalism was certainly changed because of what a lot of the talented people at EW did.
While we're on this, there was Todd, our wonderful editor in Texas, sent us an article today. It was an excerpt from a book by Chuck Klosterman about 90s culture, as I remember. Yeah. And to paraphrase it, and Chuck helped me here, is that we were the only show that portrayed entitled kind of wealthy people as positive. We were not the scumbags, and the outsiders were the kind of the downtrodden and the lowly of the school. Because in the 90s, it was always the outsiders and this and that, but we broke that mold.
Yes.
Claim it, Beverly Hills.
Well, Jessica, I just wanted to have you on. I know this is so important to you, and I was thinking of you all day when I read that. So
thank you.
You're doing okay?
I guess I'm doing okay. It's as with everything, it's the end of an era. Things change, things evolve, and in all industries. And I'm glad to be able to market that it was a meaningful thing. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Before you leave, we're talking about the episode "Sweating It Out" today. Do you remember this episode? This is where Brandon and Dylan go on a motorcycle ride together.
Yes. Of course, obviously, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I was like sweating it out. I don't know any of the titles, but give me 3 seconds of what happens. I'm like, yeah, of course I know.
All right, Jessica, thank you for stopping by here tonight. It was good to see you, Jessica.
Thank you guys so much. It's great to see you all.
Later, sweetie.
All right, see you again soon. Bye.
Bye, Jessica.
Okay, now let's get back to what you were talking about here. The horse with no name. You guys have been
I'm
out
just
and
so
about.
flustered. I don't even know what I can say about it yet.
All right, here's the first clip of some of the things you guys have been doing today.
So there's some video here. Here we are, Pete. There's Chuck here. We're out there. You know, we haven't left for the camping trip yet with the boys.
Going up on the wilds of the mountain.
Going up to the mountaintop.
Oh, yeah.
Mount Whitney, of all places. Never heard of it. Do you know it, Chuck? Mount Whitney?
Whitney.
That's where the boys go in their motorcycle trip.
Yeah, that's.
All right, that's the first clip, right? That's right, Larry. That was the first clip.
Yeah, that was the first trip.
Are you settling in?
Here. I'm settling in. But I was worried about losing power before we go inside. But I'm all right. I have some responsibility with this camera.
All right, let's start talking about this episode, Sweating It Out. This is a season 5 episode. Before this happens, I was just looking it up earlier. Well, after this is Hazardous to Your Health. Before this is Sentenced to Life, which, of course, is the episode where Milton Berle is, and we'll cover one day, I'm sure, with our friend Jessica Klein, hopefully. So this is where we are in the world, in the state of the episodes. Talk to me about this idea that Brandon and Dylan are going to go on this motorcycle trip. Larry, in the Patreon, you revealed maybe where it came from.
Oh, well, I mean, the motorcycle thing at the time was very a Steve Wasserman thing. But, I mean, you know, we were looking for the kind of a bonding buddy experience. And I'm not positive, but I know I'm not sure exactly where the motorcycle thing, but I think we can say that Steve might have had a good hand in that because he was a rider at that point.
Okay, and Chuck, what about for you? What are your memories of that? Of where it came from?
Well, it was really kind of the beginning of the male triangle, and that was the point of it. And the guys were, Jason was the guy. They both rode motorcycles. They both were. This was their culture. You see them in the show pulling away, not riding on the freeways. Those were stunt doubles, but you know, up in some of the mountain trails. But on some of the roads, it was them. They were, you know, bike riders. And so, just as you know, as we said, you know, when we did the Western and we got them on horses because they love horses, you know, they wanted motorcycles or ice skates. You know, it was part of the fun. We would put our characters through things that the actors like to do. And the Sweat Lodge part was a twofold situation. One, I knew about the Sweat Lodges because of Crossroads School was kind of known for taking their kids in it, and I remember reading about it. And then Chip comes, and he, you know, we've talked about that. The Chip would come in with Day of the Dead, or this one here, the
Odd festivals,
just to set the shows around. And so that was, you know, he came in and thought this would be, you know, a really interesting thing to do. He had done some research. He used to live in not that far from you, Pete, in Mount Washington. And there's a Indian museum there. We, as a kid, growing up in LA in the 50s, we used to actually go to field trips to that museum. And it's called the Southwest Indian Museum. And anyway, he did some research there. And we, you know, decided to recreate it and put it in script without really realizing that it's kind of a holy sacrament for Indian Nation. So it was a kind of...
I guess we appropriated the culture. Yeah, we did a cultural appropriation, which we'd probably get spanked for.
Oh, now, yeah, for sure.
Especially because the actor, our friend who unfortunately just passed... such a nice actor.
Larry Sellers
guy.
was the chief here in this episode.
Yeah, he was in Dr. Quinn as a regular, and for us, he came in. He was very friendly. Clearly had the part immediately. There was no, you know, it was just perfect for the role and understood what we were doing. And he was Cherokee, but he was part, but his connection to Sioux had to come out because this is a nation take for this. And the cultural appropriation that Larry was talking about really goes back to that. So we have to do a little bit of adjustment. and
Yeah, I remember
we had to make a little
there
bit of
was
a
some legal
donation,
stuff we
and
had
there
to
we
do.
were.
Yep, I think you're. Yeah, that's right. I remember
Yeah,
that
make
now.
a donation. Pay to play. Pay to play.
So that's how that sort of resolves itself in that world at that time.
That was what was going
Yeah.
on backstage for the weeks leading up to
Yeah.
production on this one.
But Chuck, he set upon the triangle thing because again, we're off the the fire where Kelly and Brandon are eyeing him, but he's broken the trust because he wasn't there that night,
He
and
was with
Billy's on
Emily.
the outside there, and he wants her too. And when you look at the episode before the boys leave for the motorcycle trip, there's a lingering shot with Kelly Taylor on the stairway of the Walsh house and Dylan in the doorway, and we kind of double cut it, and we got to say, hey, yeah, he's still got feelings here, and it really, we really got a chance to kind of set the guys apart from each other, get them at each other to bond them further, which is what's beautiful about the episode.
And other things that are happening in this episode as we dive into all of these things is we see the debut of Alan Toy as Professor Finley, and it's set up beautifully as, as you said, the guys are away, and Kelly's vulnerable from the fire. And why don't you talk to me a little bit about setting that up, Larry?
Well, we knew we had this big arc we were going to do, because again, this is what happens in colleges. People are vulnerable, to new ideas or whatever. And again, it was a fairly long episode arc. I think it probably went through about 6 episodes. I should know that, I guess. But I think Chip Johannesson, who kind of had the first hand through this, and really was the architect of lots of the language and the kind of the sensibility. We kind of just really wanted to make a charismatic professor, and Paul Wagner, I think, really liked the idea of having a disabled actor. He was always pushing the boundaries for accessibility for actors, and we were lucky to be able to get Alan Toy. I don't remember him reading. Do you remember him reading, Chuck? Or was it an offer only?
Chuck?
No, he was in that. We went with Paul on that. Paul was an executive producer at that point, and he knew this would work, and I trusted him, so we're going. Yeah.
And we were honored for this too at an Access Award thing.
We heard that somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And we also found
I went to a dinner and stuff and got a plaque or something.
Well, this was our second year, because the year before we were honored, and when they found out that we didn't use a disabled actor, they took the honor away from us.
Oh, that was.
I thought we were being honored for our content of our.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, amazing.
And
so they had to atone.
The other thing is Jason directs this episode, so there's that element as well. And the other thing happening is that Jamie Walters debuts at the After Dark, right?
After he gets over his stage fright, which Donna cures with the speech from Vince Lombardi. It's kind of really a non sequitur for the show, but it kind of charmingly works because it's so dumb that he actually wins him over with that by telling him he's Paul Horning and he's the best at what he does, and it's hilarious. And that was pure Steve Wasserman, that particular part.
And the other thing happening is that Steve is not allowed to participate in anything to do with this After Dark because of what happened with him and Rush. So we're seeing a bunch of Rush as well.
Yes, it's great scenes between the father-son.
Now I'm hearing you as an echo, just to let you know, Larry.
I know. I need to charge in because I only have.
Yeah, because he came into
he
invaded my space.
I don't know why. I don't know why he's in your space. He's all over the place.
The length of the swimming pool, came over here.
I need to tape you. I'm worried I'm not going to have any juice to do the bit.
It's okay. It's okay.
So you go over there right now.
I'm going back over here now.
But do you understand what's happening is that we set this whole thing up prior to everybody was going to sit in the places they were going to sit, and then Larry just totally broke the fourth wall and just changed directions and everything.
He
changed the whole thing.
Guys, let's remember that Bluetooth burns off more battery life than wired headsets, okay?
That's right.
It's very simple. It's the ideal gas law, just like Deflategate, which is now we all know Deflategate was not an issue. The Patriots did not cheat. Super Bowl
Apparently.
week, we should mention that. We should mention
It is Super Bowl week, right? This is coming up, and
Well,
it's
we
here in
asked
LA.
Melanie
So,
about that.
yeah. Oh, that's right, because she knows some. Well, I don't know if I
yeah, it's
should.
so exciting, Pete.
All right,
Pete, you're
let's
going
talk
to
about.
the game, right?
I'm not going to the game. No. No.
You're not. No.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you on
20,000
this.
the ticket. I didn't think you would.
No, not my thing. I'm good watching it at home. You know, I'm good on that. All right, so the guys are really great in this. Jason and Luke are the stuff that's happening here in the dialogue between them on the motor. You know, they're getting into a lot of tension, right? There's a lot of things coming up from the past and all of that kind of stuff. Talk to me. Well, and Chip wrote this, you said, but I'm sure you guys are involved in a lot of this. You know, we just watched it on Patreon. So, what were your thoughts on watching the two of them sort of, you know, go through their history of problems and whatnot?
Well, first of all, I thought Luke looked great in his motorcycle jacket. We should just mention that. He looked. He had the real Marlon Brando Wild One motorcycle jacket, which I thought was particularly wonderful. No, I thought, you know, this is what happens on a trip. I mean, Luke was pressing the lead, so Brandon had to always be behind him on the trip, you know, the way it was written, which kind of really sucks. I mean, Luke was being a jerk, and Brandon was just trying to go along with him. And then, you know, it was just going to become about Kelly. It's part of the triangle stuff, and it's what we had to do at that point to really kind of take them down, discuss it with each other. And the Indian, the Indian police man played by Larry Sellers, he senses the tension between them, and that's why. I mean, you get the sense that he knows what he's doing when he sets them on this task, where only one guy is going to dig and the other one's going to supervise. So,
Right.
so it's all very, very cool the way it's set up, and it's a well-told story at that point.
Yes. And we mentioned our friend, or was Larry Sellers, was it his name, you said?
Yes.
And he had passed away. I mean, you know, his performance here is really great.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic. Everyone repeats it. The side's perfect. There's a bottom flat. You know, he just does the whole thing. And Chuck says there's a reference to that from a movie, though. What was that movie, Chuck?
Karate Kid, kind of. Didn't they do the same thing? Wax on, wax off. Isn't it the same basic premise? Or
I don't know.
That's right. It is. You've never seen Karate Kid, Larry?
Never seen it. No.
Oh my God! It's a classic. I don't know.
If I would have known that, Larry, I don't know if you could have come on to the show. I don't know. I'm sorry. Karate Kid is, you know, one of the basics. Have you ever heard of John Hughes? You know, it's one of those things you gotta know.
No. That was John Appleton.
No, I know that.
See the Wave says the moral of this episode was look before you leak. So there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all summed up in that thing, and it's so true. And I hope everyone takes that message home to them. That's what we were really hoping at that point. Look before you leak. And yeah, I mean, it plays well. Jason also did a beautiful job directing, you know, especially in the urination scene, where the guys are facing camera, and he brings in the policeman right between them. And, you know, just very subtly, he delivers the character, which is, you know, that's what directors need to do, and that's what sets them apart.
I think one of the things we commented on that we loved that Jason did was in the intro of Professor Finley. He does these sort of like rack focuses over the shoulder. Yeah.
Actually,
and also coming down the ramps. I love always coming down the ramps, using the ramps to build speed and power and all of that. I thought that was very, very artful.
He was a skier. Some kind of vague accident.
He says this,
which is kind of cool.
He does say that he misses skiing or something along those lines, and that's what had happened to him. He references the skiing accident.
It's very well done. You know, it's without being overdone.
I don't want to dive too deep into this because we did a whole episode about the Finley speak, but we do start seeing some of the language here, right? The negator. That's something that I think we talked about a whole bunch.
Extern is in there. And there's one word like a Cessna or something like that, where Kelly has gotten a Cessna.
And Claire gives her a look like, "What are you talking about? A what?" Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Namaste, they
Well,
use Namaste, Schlong, a bunch of
So,
different words.
but Larry, I'm curious for you because you said you and Chip had some fun coming up with this language, right? The Finley's language. So, what is that process like when you and Chip are throwing words out at each other like that?
well, you're just trying to make each other laugh, basically. It's just, but with a sensibility, like what was it, the millennium, the wedding,
The
the millennial
millennium.
wedding, the millennium.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay on the side of believability. That's fun stuff when you get to like free ball like that. It's
Right.
not like plot, stuff where you're really sweating like plot. Because basically, and Chuck knows this, writing is solving problems. Basically, you're always solving problems. So basically, moving ahead in the plot, you're solving problems, and that can be hard sometimes.
Well, I know that when Chip talked about writing for Homeland, he said one of the things for him was that he had to make the impossible believable. So there are things in this particular episode, particularly in the having to do with the the plot with the motorcycles and the steam bath, all of that, that are implausible, that would not have happened. You wouldn't have been able to build it. You wouldn't have been able to do it. You wouldn't have been able
The pop-up
all the
sweat
different
lodge,
things
yeah.
about it. And so it had a magical, had a television quality to it,
Yeah,
and yet
suspension
was
of
not
disbelief.
shallow. So I like that about it. But it still was TV,
See the Wave, I don't mean to keep going to See the Wave, but See the Wave says Larry Sellers also played a role in the dreams of Dylan McKay later in this season. Is that right? Did that happen?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
we
think
brought
in
him
the
back.
when they all kind of go to the grave
Yeah, we
site
brought
and
him
walk
back.
by, I think one of them is back. Yeah.
That's
we had
pretty
him
cool.
back.
And Allison says she almost fell off the couch when Larry said he hasn't seen Karate Kid. So Alice, be careful, Allison.
You don't know how many other movies he hasn't seen. Larry, tell him 3 movies you haven't seen.
Oh God.
Three movies.
I don't think I've 3 movies. I can't remember.
How many
so I haven't
episodes
seen
of
them.
How many episodes of The Sopranos have you ever seen?
Oh, no.
I saw 1.
I rest my case.
Wow, that's upsetting to hear. It's such a classic show, Larry. What's happened?
I don't know, just the mob stuff.
What's the matter, you?
I'd rather watch Fargo.
You got no respect. What are you gonna do? Hey.
All right, let's talk about Jamie Walters. What's cool about this is that we all love Jamie here. So I wanted to ask you guys, we've talked to Jamie, we've done a lot of that with him, but revisiting this episode and getting to see a performance, which, by the way, of course, we know is probably not on Hulu or any of the places where you stream the show. That performance is probably eliminated, if the episode's even on. I don't even know. But I'm curious for you, looking back on seeing Jamie's first performance, he looked great, man. It was great. This was the start of something, and it was going to be going for a long time, is what you thought at that time. Yeah.
Well, yes,
it must have
and
been
also
the first band. Yeah.
the production of it, the backup singers, the horns. I mean, clearly, again, a television moment, not something that was realistically. Could you put something like that together with a performer who had that much stage fright?
Right.
And but it just was, so much fun to see it. It was the beginning of it, and it got sidetracked a little bit by the narrative itself, because the music. And Jamie is a music man. That could have just continued and continued and continued. You could have spun off this show and tried to keep that alive in some ways. I don't know exactly what, but I mean, you had that paradigm.
That's kind of what they did with the heist. That was the heist they did. They kind of tried to do that.
I guess.
The musician show. But I mean, Jamie really performed well, because again, in those conditions, he obviously is miming the songs. They didn't play live. They just listened to a track, but it's very exciting. It is pretty implausible, of course, that he's an unknown, but he's got like a 7-piece band there. But that was the faith they had in Donna, Claire and David. They let Donna get in there, which was good. I mean, it's very cute. I love Steve's line, by the way, when she says to Steve, "I can't get ready to be worried about performing." He says, "Why don't you sleep with him?"
He does say that. He does say that. That's really good stuff.
Yeah, which is really a good shot in there, I thought.
Okay, See the Wave has another question. See the Wave, why aren't you just on the show here tonight? If they did not ride the motorcycles, how would the road trip plot run? Who'd drive? Who'd ride shotgun? What discussions would they have? I don't know.
Let me consult. I'll tell you what. I'll call Chip right now, and in the other room, and find
Tell
out
him
the
we're
answer
rewriting it.
and get back to you. Because I'm
Tell him
sure
we can't use
it's just-
motorcycles. He has to have another idea now. We're redoing the episode.
Oh, for the fan fiction.
Without
How do we do it?
There you go.
Oh, it's
I
the
know.
river.
E-scooters.
Oh no, I'm on the river trip. Do 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 do.
Oh, yeah.
Chris wants to know, did Jason take the cheap green bomber jacket? He wore the same jacket later in the season.
Oh, he stole everything up and down the board. He just anything, just pocket it, walk out. They all did. They all stole from us.
Molly will
That's great.
attest.
Yeah, all right, let's take a
Molly,
look.
you're out there.
Yeah, Molly's watching the show. I invited her to come on and join us to talk about some of the outfits here.
Hi, Molly.
All right, let me show you this clip of something else that you guys did today.
Horse with no name.
There's Chuck and Karen. This is our version of a hike. We're hiking now, thinking about Brandon and Dylan. And Chuck is looking for.
I've been looking for this horse with no name I've been told about. You know, we're in the desert, right? And I can remember my name, but where's the horse with no name?
We are going to search for this horse with no name.
I got to find it.
We've got to find the horse with no name.
All right, so you're on this search for the horse with no name, yes?
Yeah, and it gets more complicated. It gets life-threatening, actually, at one point.
All right, let's see what.
Yeah, it really. There's some. Yeah, go right to that because there was some.
Here we are.
Okay. We ran into somebody walking the street, and they told us you could find horses with no name in the mountains, but look up there. I don't see any horse with no name.
Where is the horse with no name?
They're just getting my hopes up for nothing.
I'm so sorry. We just don't seem to be doing this. We can't seem to find the horse with no name. But we're going to keep trying.
Keep trying.
All right, so
And then it became dangerous.
all right, let's see the next clip
Very
here.
dangerous.
The next clip.
We have been working hard for you because we have come to the desert and we have heard about there's a horse with no name.
Larry, I think we found it. Eureka, we found it. Isn't that it? Isn't that a horse with no name?
It is.
Okay. Well, we've been to the desert.
With the horse with no name, it felt good to be back on the road again. The desert does not remember your name.
That's right. In the desert, you can remember your name because there ain't no one there to give you no pain.
No pain.
No pain.
There it is.
Chuck.
You've heard it first. We're on the camping trip.
There was one that, it all would have made sense, Pete, but you dropped one.
Yeah, Pete just fucked it up. Sorry,
What are you
everybody.
talking? Is this what?
There was
Where's the yoga one?
The horse was a house ornament, so we had to get out in the wild. Now, Chuck and I are walking, and what do we see?
Eureka, we found it again.
Again.
Again, there it is. Let's give it a name. Let's have a contest.
Let's call it Kinto.
Or Brenda.
Brenda. Yes, I think Brenda is a perfect name for that
Kind
horse.
of original.
And that's from Chuck also. For
Right.
all you Brenda, you got bashers who bash Chuck. That is
The
horse's
mythical
name.
horse.
A mythical horse of no name. We're giving the name Brenda.
Unless it's a stud.
Oh.
And its name could be Steve Sanders.
Oh, well, it would definitely be Steve Sanders. Or, yes, Steve Sanders.
All right, there you.
I don't know. I thought there was another clip.
I do not see this other clip, Larry. I am sorry if
yoga
I have
clip.
missed it. Oh, I wanted to ask you too in this episode, Larry. There's a reference to, you sent me this link before, to Susan Powder.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Susan Powder?
I'm going to send you this. Susan Powder was a motivational speaker of the 90s.
She was like Marianne Williamson. You bet on the wrong pony.
She had the, I think she had the catchphrase "Stop the insanity," right? Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I think Steve. I blame Steve Wasserman on that.
But that is one of those things. I was going to say that is one of those references that's mentioned. Where most of these cultural references sometimes throw us off, right? There's an episode where we were watching, and Brandon says, "You should have brought Bill Cosby." right? That was like,
I know.
wow, that didn't land. That didn't land. That didn't land. Susan Powder is just like, I don't even know who we're talking about. That's not even someone that's not in the.
We just usually we hit pretty good though.
Well, now I understand why with the Susan Powder reference, like 4 episodes later, Jenny got a little snippy because like we keep making references to people who nobody knows, like Susan Powder. Of course, that one was Dr. Kevorkian. And a lot of people knew who he was.
That's a Kevorkian. Yeah.
You'd have never shared that story on the show.
Well, Jenny, I love you. You know that. It just was,
but you told us that. Let me just clarify what you're saying. That one time, Jenny, and we love Jenny here. We can't wait for her to join us again one day. But you said that one time she said, "Why do you keep referencing people that nobody knows?" And she said, like Dr. Kevorkian, right?
Yeah, she was a little mad. It was during a reading. But the point being is that it didn't come out of left field. Now I know this because there was the Susan Powder mishap. I mean,
correct.
If she would have said Mary Ann Williamson,
maybe she was right in a way. Maybe she was actually correct because with this Susan Powder, who the heck is Susan Powder? And now Dr. Kevorkian, what are you guys talking about?
We try to reflect today. Look, Color Me Bad was on the show.
Right, that's true.
Dream on.
I mean, and musically, you guys nailed it perfectly. I mean, you had all the music of the 90s.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
That's really funny. All right. Do you have another clip you're sending me, Larry, that you want me to? Oh, you did. Okay, let's see if I can.
I thought I did, yeah. Well, this was the
Hold up. Let me
supposed to be in the middle.
Give me 1 second here.
I mean,
it won't make any sense now. That was the stuff I was saying. I was setting up. Oh, it was dangerous. It was dangerous.
You did say that. You did say that.
It was kind of funny. I was talking about these matronly people, adults taking yoga. Like was the dangerous part. But
okay, wait a minute. Let's see.
Hopefully we're not live. Oh, wait a second. We are live, Chuck.
We are live. Yeah, it's the clip
live.
Isn't, so it's just we're gonna have to move past
the
it.
Desert.
What's interesting too is happening in this episode. Well, at the end of this episode, is that Dylan gets this phone call regarding from Jonesy.
Ooh. Yep, come running, come down.
Come back next week. We've got
setting up the big episode,
which we've gone in. I mean, the Sweat Lodge stuff and the stuff that happens with Luke and Brandon is really, really nicely written and really well done. And the two actors seem like they've had a really nice time working together in all of that.
Yeah, they sure did. I felt the same way. That's really what came across. They knew that it was starting to end.
They pushed each other.
Especially for Luke.
Yeah, it was this point Luke had given notice. So they knew everybody knew it was ending right now, so.
I want to ask you guys both about the fact that Jason's a director. In the Patreon, we talked a little bit about that, and we had some fun about anytime there was an idea that you wanted to do, you'd kind of get Jason. But I want to ask you, Chuck, as someone who was always pushing for Jason as a director, who saw it in him, you're starting to see the evolution of him as a director, especially here in this episode. What are your thoughts on his direction and that evolution? And I think you had a large part in probably helping him on that journey.
To some extent, certainly here, but he just exuded much more confidence. I think one of the things that I'm not a director, obviously, but you have to budget time, and I think that's probably and also I remember our friend Josh Brand, really one of the really fine TV writers of our generation who did St. Elsewhere and Northern Exposure and someone I was the privilege of working with on all those shows. He basically said he wasn't prepared for how physically exhausting it can be. And that was something I shied away from that. The idea that you were on the spotlight the whole time. That when you had
to get up very early in the morning and talk to actors.
All day you got to talk to actors. That did not appeal to me. No
it's
offense
very
to my
good and early in the morning, and then you have to stay late. It's really a hard job. Other people can do it, and then you can edit it. That's what's so great about being a showrunner.
Larry, what about your thoughts on Jason's direction here?
No, I love seeing the stuff between them, and the other, going to what Chuck said about Jason was able to get a lot more from the company because he was Jason. But you look at the Peach Pit After Dark. I mean, all the extras there. And like I said, he really wanted to bring excitement to that thing, and it's like over the top, but it's fantastic. Looking at it now, I mean, I don't think we've ever had a club that busy and looking that
No,
that
of course not.
prosperous.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun, and I love the way sometimes he brought the two shots in, and the hand, Finley's hand on Kelly, and he just had nice attention to detail in the moments, which the unspoken moments in
Mm-hmm.
the show, and then he has his good sense of improvisation too. There's a couple of clips of his. He has a mildly homophobic one where he says, "Yeah, I'm going to be on your tailpipe. I mean, not metaphorically or whatever he says." He kind of implies some kind of a rear end kind of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I threw that out, and he delighted in getting that by the censors.
The other thing too is at the Finley thing, Valerie wants nothing to do with it. Valerie, goes to the thing, and she is not brainwashed at all in this. And it's good to have someone like that sees it for what it is. And I think a lot of us identify with Valerie, right? That she goes to this thing and she's not buying it.
Well, the thing is about
No.
Valerie is that though she could have, had
Sure.
she let herself be more open, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
She'd have been more open to it, because one of the reasons that Kelly is vulnerable, of course, is the fire, as we talked about. Well, she had the suicide. She had things in her life too, but rather than be open to, looking at that specifically as a kind of a launch pad for the rest of your life, she kind of had shut that down, and I guess ended up on a bluff at some point, right, Larry? In later seasons. So
Yeah.
maybe she should have taken the fucking class. Maybe she
Yeah, I mean,
needed to
I
get
think-
away
I think
from
Finley
the
would've-
gators like me.
I'm thinking they could have married. Finley could have married her off easily. It was
Finley should have married her.
Totally
What a
would
blunder.
have. He really did botch that.
Yeah.
But there's some great moment we have in there, which Kelly's all agog because it's a $200 ticket to this seminar with the very popular professor, the charismatic Finley, and then Valerie comes in. She got the same thing because she also got an A+ from the class, and it's just such a deflating moment for Kelly.
Exactly.
Takes all the fun out of it.
It is always good. It is also always good to see the Valerie Kelly tension brewing, right? It's always fun.
Yeah.
And they kept that alive the whole time, right?
They did.
Yeah. The other thing, there's an unreliable narrator during the Peach Bay After Dark where Valerie just kind of like ogles Ray up on stage, and we really linger on it and play a lot on it. And you kind of wonder, is she going to go after Ray? And then, of course, next episode.
And then she does.
She does.
In Mexico.
Yeah, so I am curious about that. Was that something that Jason would have known to do? Would he have had that thought, or is that something he just
we would have had the script.
Hello.
He would have?
Hello. Stop. This is just, let's not go down this at all. A showrunner has I had a meeting with every director of every episode 143 times, the tone meeting, and I would tell them why every moment in the script was in the script and what we expected from him. And when directors hit that mark, we were happy with the directors. And when they didn't, we scolded them.
Well, Jason clearly
they wouldn't come back.
Well, another reason why Jason's a great director is because he's also an actor on the show, so he knows.
Actors speak a language. Larry kind of speaks that language too because he comes out of theater. Actors speak language. It's their own thing. And, you're in. I mean, I used to be in the audition things. And you saw this with Jason. Jason would give adjustments and go to the actor, we need a little more, And they go, sure. They would do it. It never be what it was, but they know because they kind of,
It's actually no words, but they totally understand.
That's it.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered this. Is there anything that we're missing? We talked about the stuff.
Well, yeah. There's one quirky thing. The quirky thing is that when the boys reach Lone Pine and stop to the restaurant for the evening, and the saucy waitress has a nice apple pie conversation with them, that is at that time the wife of Wayne Huizinga, the guy who created Blockbuster and who, for a brief time, owned Spelling Television. And we were asked to
Blockbuster
write a poem
owned
for her.
Spelling, right?
They
Yes,
did.
some of the episodes you'll see it says Blockbuster at the end.
Yeah, what is that about, Chuck? Do you want to talk about
Well,
that,
I
or is
mean,
that
they
a
were
whole other
smart. They were
episode?
trying to.
When I went to work for Spelling Entertainment, they were at the time they had been newly acquired by the company that basically was Chiquita Banana, United Brands out of Cincinnati. A man named Linder, very close.
We lost him.
You there? Did I lose everybody?
No, you're back. You're back.
Did I lose everybody? Am I back?
You did for. You're back now. Yeah. Mhm.
Am I back?
Chuck, how much power do you have in your phone? Do you look at your
3%.
Are you okay?
All right.
3%
Well, I'm done with
that's
this
not a lot.
thing. Yost, finish it. I'm going to the pool there. Is that what we got to do?
Yeah.
All right.
I got to
So
go in the
what-
pool.
Okay.
Oh, hold
Come
on,
on, everybody.
Hold on. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here?
Pete, can you see Chuck? Can you see
I
Chuck?
can see
I'm flying
Chuck.
blind.
What's
Can you
going
see
on?
Chuck?
What are you guys going to do here?
This is part of the thing. Chuck, are you still seeing Chuck, Pete? You're my
We
eyes
still
here.
see Chuck. Yes.
Okay, I don't want to waste it now. Chuck he's in the pool.
Oh, easy, Chuck.
He took his glasses off.
And now I will swim.
And that is Chuck live. We can't do a second take on this. You can see him, right?
Yeah, I can see him. He looks great. We got him full throttle here in the pool.
Chuck is looking good. I like what he's doing now. It's a kind of a comedy stroke. It's really a good stroke.
It is a comedy stroke. It is a comedy stroke.
It's like a Buster Keaton comedy stroke. This is a bonus material for the DVD, as if anyone has a DVD. So
He's looking great, though.
there you go.
Larry, come back on. Let me see you, Larry, real quick. All right, so this was a great episode, man. We covered quite a bit here.
I don't know about that, but at least we did this. Yeah, we gave it a shot. Look, yes, I think it's a great episode. And yeah, we're still here, Chuck.
And I wanted to say one of the things we're planning is you found some dailies, and we're going to do a dailies episode soon. We're plotting.
Okay.
We plotted that. I think Chuck, we might have some extra dailies. We're working through some of that, so we're going to look at dailies and figure out how a show was put together with dailies. That's what we're gonna do that here on the podcast at some point. So, okay, everybody, we will see you again next week. Chuck, Larry, have a wonderful evening. Enjoy yourselves in the desert. It's always great to see you guys. Okay.
And yes, there we go. That's it. Bye-bye.
All right. See you next week. Okay. Bye-bye.